mission now. I'm on a mission now. I'm on a mission now. I'm on a mission now.
Welcome back to the mission. Today I'm going to tie a fly that has been working quite well, freshwater especially, recently, and that's Blane Chocklett's jerk changer. The jerk changer is an evolution of Blane Chocklett's game changer flies, and the interesting thing about this fly is that the hook sits in the middle of the fly. You have 3 links at the back, then the hook, and then a long link in front. The long link in front is actually the thing that gives the fly its action, because it causes the fly to the back of the fly to act as a keel, and when you pause and retrieve it will follow the long link in front, causing it to swerve to a left and a right manner quite dramatically, and that's where it gets its name, the jerk changer. I started using this fly for bass, and I've also used it for yellowfish. It works quite well, but it was on a recent trip to Matoya on the Barachi floodplains that I realized how good this fly really worked. I fished it on a floating line, and there were sessions where the fish couldn't resist this fly. They really just hammered it. I like to fish this fly in black. I don't know, it's a color that just works for the freshwater fish that I've fished for. But you could try it in different colors. If I don't get the materials that a black chenille that you would use to tie this fly, I often tie it in different colors and then just dye it afterwards. This one, for instance, is tied olive, but I will just throw it in with a batch of dye, jacquard acid dye, that I use to tie other materials such as bucktail or feathers. You can also tie it with different materials. The Blane Chocklett ties this with a material called chocolate chenille. It's a chenille that's made specifically to tie the game changers. It's made for tying flies such as the jerk changer and so forth. The purpose of this material is that the fibers fold down very straight, and there's no kinks or anything that hinders the movement of the fly. That's also the purpose. The hook is hidden, so the water will move around the fly without being obstructed by anything. The tail of the fly is also important. It's tied with hen hackles, and it acts as a rudder. So it's short and it's flat. That's very important. The construction of the fly is as such. You will aim to tie the back of the fly as short as possible. So I start with a link to tie in the hackles, then 2 very short links, as short as possible, then a hook with a short shank, and then I use about a 40 millimeter link in front. Sometimes I tie I use zonker strip hair, rabbit hair, that I put in loops, and I use as a kind of I make my own brushes and tie a fly that is basically the same as the jerk changer tied with the chocolate chenille. The reason why I like the chocolate chenille for tigerfish specifically is that it's quite hard wearing. It won't. I think the zonker, it works very well for bass and yellowfish, but I don't think it will work that well for tigerfish. For that purpose, it's better to use the chenille. So yes, as mentioned, the tail is constructed with using 2 hen hackles on either side, and it's supposed to be short, and it's supposed to be a blade. It acts as a rudder. The easiest way to construct this fly is using the chocolate chenille that is designed for this fly. I construct my own links. Over here you can see the size of the links I use at the back. Then you get the hook. I like using a hook with with a relatively short shank. This hook is I found to be very good for tigerfish. And keep it. I keep the size of the hook short because the bigger the hook, the longer the shank, and that's something that you don't want. To make the links, I use these tools. It's a sort of a round nose pliers, and I use that to bend the wire before I use these tools, which is sort of link tools that you use to make the round ends of the links. Probably easier to buy links, but I find that I've been tying a lot of game changers, and if you intend to use a lot of game changers, it makes so much more sense to buy these tools and make your own for several reasons. Firstly, you can control the length of the links to fit specific needs, and you can also use different wire for different parts, and in the end it will be more cost effective if you're going to use it a lot. So I'm starting with a link at the back, and I make my own links. So this link is made so that it can sit in the vise almost like a hook, and it gives you some angle to work on. The back link has the tail, and the tail basically consists of hen hackles on either side, 2 hen hackles on either side, and the idea is to create kind of a blade kind of effect. It's completely flat, and it acts as a kind of a rudder instead of a tail. So basically 2 hen hackles on either side. And the hen hackle that I use is basically, that's the size of it. In this instance, like I said, it doesn't really matter what color I use, because I will dye the fly black once I'm done. So you want the hackles to be kind of completely flat and act as a blade, almost like a rudder. Once you've tied that in, you can start with the chenille. And basically what you do is you just roll it forward, and as you roll it forward, you just push it back. You're going to tie the chenille in, and obviously afterwards you're going to trim it. So you can either trim it as you go along, or you can, what I prefer to do is I trim a little bit, but then I trim most of it once I'm done. Also, the link that I used first, that piece of metal that's sticking out there, that was the purpose of it was to keep the link in the vise. You can just cut that off once you're done. Starting with the second link, and first of all, what you do is you just cover up the pieces of wire, because I make my own links. Those pieces of exposed wire will often cut the thread, so I just cover them up and seal it off with a bit of super glue. Then I can start with the second link. I tie it kind of in the middle, just to get some grip on it, and then I go to the back of the link. You know, you tie it down, and then you start wrapping it from the back, and then you move forward. And with each wrap, you just fold it back like this. And it's kind of easy because as you can see, the chenille is kind of like it's folded to one side, so it's specifically made for making game changers, the chocolate chenille. So yeah, now I'm finishing up the second link. So you can see there's the first link. Now the second link is ready to be tied off. What I like to do is I like to just put a little bit of super glue on the thread. You can see there. And then I tie it off. That secures it. Because if you sometimes if you put a blob of super glue or whatever material you use to tie off, it will seep into the material, which then won't dye. So it's important for me not to get super glue on the actual chenille, because it will hinder the dyeing process. There's my third link. We'll go on to okay, now I'm starting with the third link, and again I'm just gonna have some super glue and cover up the link. Basically, there's no evolution in the way that you apply the chenille. You're basically going to go from the back link to the second link, and the third one, and then the hook, and then the front of the fly, and it's just rolling the chenille forward, and basically you want to have it packed quite tightly in order to create the bulk of the fly. So when you tie it off, what I do is I basically want the thread to go back onto the shank a little bit like that, just to basically grip the chenille so that it doesn't come undone while you're fishing and roll off the shank. There's my super glue on there. Again, I could have used any color thread. In fact, I should have used black, because the idea is that I will dye the fly afterwards, and if after you apply super glue to it, it won't be able to dye. So in this case, if I'm tying with this burnt orange thread, if I do see a bit of that burnt orange after I've dyed the fly, I will just take a magic marker and color it. The wire that I use for the link is basically a wire trace that you use for big game fishing. Anything from 80 to 100 pound test is good. It's this black wire, and I use wire bending tools to make the link. So I'll just cut off this. So what I do is I will just bend the wire with these round pliers first, and then I take my link maker and then that's how you make the little loop. So the links that I use at the back are basically they've got the links that I use at the back. I've got a little loop on either side. Now I'm just going to use a loop like this that I will tie onto the hook that will just hold the back links in position. The hooks that I use for tigerfish specifically are these grip hooks that I really like. They're strong and kind of a heavy wire. The idea is that you should try to keep the shank as short as possible. For this purpose, of something like a B10S, the shank is a little bit too long, and I prefer this hook. For things like bass and yellowfish, which I also use this fly, I would use the Arex Gummaroos hooks, which has got a kind of a nice large gape and a short shank. So now I'm putting the hook in the vise, and I will tie in the links that I've already made onto this hook. So basically there you have the link that will hold the back of the fly, and you must make sure that the orientation of the tail is like this. It's like it obviously flat in that direction, like. I'm tying in the chenille now, and I'm just going to roll it forward like I've done in the other steps. But what I want to make sure is that I'm not getting too much material on the loops, because that will interfere with the movement of the fly. So you want those loops to be sort of free of material in order for them to move move optimally. Okay, so now I've finished the rear part of the fly, now after this we will start with the front piece of the fly. So in this instance, is going to be quite a long shank. Now, as you can see, I've failed in keeping the rear part of the fly as long as the front or shorter, but it's very difficult to do it otherwise. And if you make this link longer, it'll just create a fly that's really well, too long, too big. So finally we come to the front link, the long link. For this I use stainless steel wire because it's stiffer, and when I make the link I double them back on each other so that it's strong and don't come apart, and I make sure that the parts that double back are on the bottom of the fly, so that it won't, you won't have it the other way around, so that it might interfere with the fly's keeling. Again, the first thing I do is just to tie down the link so that it becomes secure, and I will add some super glue before I start tying in the chenille. This link is really strong. I mean, I use this for all kinds of flies, even flies for tarpon. Never had a link like this fail. This is stronger than the hook. So now we will obviously tie in the front part of the chenille. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be wrapping the chenille around the shank, the same as I've done with the previous links. The difference is that this is obviously very long. This link is very long, and the idea is to have the wraps as tight as possible in order to create a sort of a bulk around the fly that you will be able to sculpt and shape afterwards with your scissors. So when you choose a piece of chenille, make sure that it's long enough. I'm sure you can sort of stop and add in the middle of the shank, but I prefer to just do it in one go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie in, and then obviously just go forward. And when I tie off, I obviously grip the link. Okay, so now I've finished tying the fly, and all the chenille is like same length, and it's time to trim it. And the purpose of the trimming is to make the fly look like this one. Firstly, I want to shape the sides to make it more like a blade shape, and then I will shape the top and bottom. You've got to get the sides flat, and the top and the bottom of the fly higher. So obviously the front of the fly is kind of almost like a rugby ball shaped, while the rear of the fly is flat. So what I'm doing at the moment is I'm trimming the flat sides of the fly to get the thickness of the fly to become kind of more like blade-like and flat. Once I've got that shape down, I'll start trimming the top and the bottom.
sure when you tie things in bulk, you just tie a whole lot and then do the trimming
Yeah.
separately.
It's kind of a time-consuming fly. When you get stuck on a tree or something, you're definitely going to be swimming for this one. Now I'm going to start working on the taper towards the rear, so that the taper reduces towards the tail of the fly.
I mean, would you always fish these black? Or would you fish...
Yeah, I prefer this fly in black. I don't know why, it just looks amazing in the water. Obviously the chenille, it looks kind of like awkward and cactusy like it is now. Once in the water, it folds down and it becomes like a solid shape. It's like really quite uncanny how realistic this fly becomes.
I'm on a mission now.